Hey, I love a good deal, especially on insurance, all kinds of insurance. And I've discovered a great resource for finding competitive insurance quotes, whether it's a car, home, travel, life insurance, basically all types of cheap quotes from direct insurance companies to fit every budget. You can even get quotes on annuities, and they provide the best insurance rates from all over the United States and California to Texas to Florida and everywhere in between. Compare and save. There's a great blog associated with the insurance lead company toinsureforless.com that has lots of helpful information. Since time is short these days, I thought I would produce this video blog so that you can listen on the go. And here are some instructions. Basically, what you have to do is, if you want a free quote, be sure to check out our site at competitiveinsurancequote.com for your no obligation competitive insurance quote. This is what you do. You go to competitiveinsurancequote.com, and you'll see there's a blog with a whole bunch of helpful information on it. Right at the top of this blog, it says insurance quotes. You simply select whatever you're looking for, whether it's auto insurance, home insurance, renter insurance, life insurance, health insurance, long-term care, disability insurance, cancer insurance, burial insurance, annuity, or business insurance. You got it all right here. And then you put in your first name, your last name, your zip code, and select quote. And then let's just do like auto insurance. And then you would do John Doe, and let's say 91606, for example. That's somewhere in California. Then you say start quote. And what it'll do is it'll take you to this website as we patiently wait for it to come up. All right. And then, are you currently insured? And you can say, well, yes, I've had a vehicle past 30 days, whatever you say. Get quote. Now, here's what's cool. They will gather some information. They need the info because how else are they going to get the quote? Did I click that right? Get quotes. Enter correct marked field. I guess it doesn't believe my name is John Doe. Let's do jokes. That's funny. All right, there we go. Yeah, I guess John Doe is something people have tried before. Kind of funny, huh? All right, and then you put in your vehicle year and all that kind of stuff. Continue. It'll eventually ask for your info because what's going to happen is all these insurance companies are going to bid and try to get your deal. Not bad, huh? Anyway, happy searching, and hope you can save some money.